Hello and welcome to New IAS Academy. Today we are going to start a new series which is the Science and Technology Exclusive Current Affairs series. In this series you will be provided with the important information regarding your UPSC preparation with respect to Science and Technology Current Affairs. Okay, now coming to the topic of the day, which is EOS-01 satellite. Now coming and talking about this, you all would be aware that India had recently launched its EOS-01 satellite, and it was said that this is the first Indian launch of 2020. If you think back, you would also know that the communication satellite GSAT-30 had also been launched. However, that satellite was launched by the Ariane rocket from French Guiana, and that is the reason why everyone is claiming that EOS-01 satellite is truly the first launch of India or ISRO in the year of 2020. Now another thing you have to keep in mind is that this satellite was launched along with 9 other satellites from different foreign countries, and the rocket which was used was the PSLV rocket. Coming and talking about the PSLV rocket, understand this is the 51st launch of the PSLV rocket. Okay, now moving ahead to the satellite, which is the EOS-01 satellite. What is the satellite? See, the EOS-01 satellite is simply a radar imaging satellite. You know the RISAT series of satellites. When I'm talking about the RISAT series, I specifically mean RISAT 2B and RISAT 2B R1 satellites. Okay, now here EOS basically stands for Earth Observation Satellites. Alright. However, one thing that you have to keep in mind is that this EOS-01 satellite had a previous name. It was initially named as RISAT 2B R2 satellite, and then later on its name was changed to EOS-01 satellite. So why did ISRO do this? Basically, with this satellite, which is the EOS-01 satellite, ISRO is trying to introduce a new naming system for all its Earth observation satellites. Now if you think back about the different satellites of ISRO, you will know that with respect to Earth observation satellites, ISRO had been naming its satellites from a thematic basis. What I mean when I say that is that, for example, the Cartosat series of satellites, all those satellites were meant to provide data of land topography and mapping. At the same time, we had a series of satellites called OceanSat series, and those satellites were supposed to give information regarding the ocean and the seas. So there was a specific theme here, and ISRO continued with that until now, wherein ISRO changed its naming system for all its Earth observation satellite. And in that new naming system, it has started off with EOS-01 satellite. So to simply speak, EOS-01 satellite is simply a radar imaging satellite. Okay, now coming to the RISAT satellites, there is going to be a constellation of 3 satellites. Okay, the first one which is going to be RISAT 2B, the second one which is RISAT 2B R1, and the third one which is the recently launched EOS-01 satellite. So now the aim of these constellation of satellites is to provide all-weather, round-the-clock services of high-resolution images of the Earth to India. This is the main duty of these 3 satellites. Now coming and talking about radar imaging satellites itself. Alright, when you're talking about radar imaging satellites, you have to know that these satellites actually use synthetic aperture radars, and these radars are used to produce high resolution images of the Earth. Now for those who does not understand what is synthetic aperture radars, it is very simple. See, this is a type of radar which is used to produce 2D images of 3D objects. Okay, and here when I'm talking about 3D objects, I'm talking about the Earth itself. Okay, the landscape, different mountains, trees, oceans, lakes, rivers, all of that are 3D objects, but to get a very clear 2D image of that is why these radar satellites are used. Now there is one major advantage, or why scientists prefer radar satellites over optical satellites. There are 2 types of satellites also with respect to Earth observation. There is radar and optical as well. Okay, now one big advantage that the radar imaging satellites has over the optical satellite is that this radar imaging satellites is completely unaffected by weather, cloud, fog or even complete lack of sunlight. However, when it comes to optical satellite, if you don't have sunlight or proper sunlight, you cannot click a proper image. The image is going to be very dark and certain features of the landscape would not be understandable. Okay, and it is because of this fact that radar satellites are always used, mostly used to get high quality images of the earth at all times. Now going a little bit deep into these radar satellites, understand depending on the wavelength of the electromagnetic radiation that is being used in the radar, different properties of the land can be captured. What I am trying to say here is that, for example, if the radar satellite is using low frequency radar, okay, if the frequency that is being used is relatively low, in that case it can capture, tree cover, vegetation, all those things which are present on top of the land, that can be captured by the low frequency radar. At the same time, if you are increasing the frequency or using high frequency radar images, in that case these signals will penetrate the earth and give us more details about what lies beneath the earth. So that is one advantage with different types of radar images. You can have images of the earth on top of the land, also what is there below the surface of the land. That also can be achieved. Images of that also can be achieved with the help of these radar satellites. Now coming and talking about EOS-01 and the sister RISAT satellites, understand these satellites, these three satellites, they actually use the X-band radars. Now when I am talking about X-band radars, it simply means they operate at low frequency wavelengths. Okay, they operate at low wavelengths. And these are considered the best for monitoring urban landscape and imaging of agricultural or forest land. So basically those features which is above the surface of the earth. Okay. Now according to ISRO, EOS-01 is intended for the application of agriculture, forestry, disaster management support. And also you can understand these images is going to be very, very helpful with respect to military requirements or military intelligence and applications. Okay, so these are the different applications of the RISAT series of satellites. Now the image that you're seeing on the screen, this is the radar image of Calcutta, which has been clicked by RISAT-1. So this is how the images are going to be. Okay, it might look black and white, but with different techniques you can add in color also into this so that you can get even more better images and understand different features of it. So this is one example as to the type of images that you will get by using radar imagery.